So I'm Paul. I don't know how many new faces we have in the room, but I'm Paul, Pence Group. We started in business about 20 years ago and have been working exclusively in ag since about 2008 or 2010. And anyway, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have you guys into our facility and to talk to you a little bit about this program, this opportunity. And this is meant to be very informal, okay? This is meant for us to share a little bit of information about how this came to be. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the facility improvements that we're doing in order to be able to handle the volume of beans that we're going to process, and then just have some time for Q&A here. And by the way, if you see something in the facility improvements that you're like, oh, I built a few grain setups in my day, and I know how I would do this, don't be afraid to tell us, because we're open-minded. We've only changed it 36 or 37 times. I mean, I'm joking, but we have maneuvered how we're going to bring these beans in a lot of different ways. So I'm just going to start back at the beginning. In the fall, we had an inquiry on our website, which is not normal. Normally, if somebody wants to tile a field or something, they don't go through our website to do that. But we had an inquiry on our website about processing some soybeans. And so we didn't know, what that meant. So we had a lady by the name of Jen Kim, who runs a company called Pure Grain. And she has about 10 colleagues that basically they broker soybeans coming into South Korea. Today they're bringing in about 1.9 million bushels into South Korea, and we hopefully will be able to supply them with about 250,000 bushels this coming year. So anyway, she reached out to us, came to our facility. She was doing a tour of a whole bunch of different, and her investor, which I can't remember what his name is, but they were doing a tour of a bunch of different facilities in the Midwest, and they were particularly interested to find who had relationships with growers that would potentially be willing to plant something special. And so honestly, it's because of you guys that we were able to, in essence, make this happen, because they said, hey, there's lots of places that can process beans. There's lots of places that we can take beans to, but the Korean threshold for quality in the Asian market is higher than other Asian markets. And so they were impressed by what they saw here. They were impressed by the relationships that we talked about having with some of you all and a lot of the growers in this space. So anyway, long story short, we took about 6 weeks or so to kind of negotiate out an agreement about how it would work, how the bushels get paid, what do we do as far as pricing protection, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of details involved in that. After that was shortly after Thanksgiving, I think middle of December, and we had an agreement finalized, and that's probably when you guys started getting calls, and we said, hey, we've got something new available. We've worked with Tiffany Frash here, and she's a lot of the marketing material that you guys, all of the marketing material that you guys have seen either come in the mail or you're in your email or whatever, she's put together. So we're really excited about this because we've sold a lot of different products and services over the years. This is one of the most clear win-win proposals that we have, right? We think that everything that we sell is a win-win, right? That's why we do it. But this is an obvious and clear, hey, we can pay you additional to grow beans. So anyway, we're excited to have it going on. In the middle of December or so, we hired Grant Fawcett. Grant grew up in a farm in Sheridan, is that right?
South of Kirkland.
Just south of Kirkland, okay. So, and Grant's dad's actually here. So Grant grew up farming with his dad. And so Grant is the head of the program. So he'll be talking today, answering questions, but he will be kind of the main contact person for you as far as production goes, any questions as far as storage or whatever. So, and then Jordan with AIO Ag is here. And Jordan will be the main contact person for all of the hedging and pricing components. One thing that was really important to me when we started going down this road is, okay, it sounds nice to be able to get additional premium on your soybeans. You know, obviously that looks like a big number and that sounds really nice, but what's the big catch, right? Because I've talked to a lot of people that have grown specialty crops, and they say, well, you know, there's not really a way to forward price. Or, you know, if you do forward price, there's, you know, some pretty significant fees involved. And so I went into this knowing that I want to make it as easy as possible for you guys to farm these acres and deliver these soybeans similar to how you would do the rest of your production. And so you're going to see that theme throughout what we talk about here this morning in the facilities and how we went. But the main thing about the hedging is that we wanted to make sure that you could price your bushels at one time for no cost. Okay, so you can price every bushel one time for no cost. So we'll get into that a little bit later when Jordan comes up and talks about how that's going to work. But I think we've got some really good tools in place for you to be able to lock in prices and then also maneuver those prices if you so choose. So, all righty. So we're just going to walk a little bit through the growing season and how this is going to look, who's going to do what, etc. Obviously, those of you who don't know, the products that are on the list to be grown for pure grain, the list of different soybean varieties includes some that we sell, and it also includes some from other seed companies. So there's a couple Pioneer numbers that are on the list. There's at least one Bex number. We're having a couple more tested right now. And then we sell Illini brand soybeans, non-GMO, that are developed over in the University of Illinois. There's several of those that are on the list. And then Pure Grain has its own proprietary product, genetic, that they're paying an additional 30 cents a bushel to plant that variety if somebody so chose. So there's in these sheets up here, which we can pass out. We haven't passed these out yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay. This has all contact information for you, and it also talks about how the premium is figured. What we will do is we will get a contract in front of you. We're finishing that up right now, putting the final touches on that. And Jordan wanted to add some input, which we've taken into consideration, and we just want to make sure that it's locked tight and good for you guys so that everybody can have confidence, you know, bringing bushels in the fall. So, but that pricing on the contract, you will be offered a specific premium on the clean bushels that we ship to our end buyer. So, obviously, we're offering a little bit more if you purchase the seed from us, and then the more acres that you do, the more the premium adds up to be, and it's in a range anywhere from $2.50 to $3.50 per bushel. Anything you want to add yet, Grant?
Not yet.
Okay. So seed delivery season's coming up. You'll be getting seed in. You'll be getting stuff planted. As far as one part that's important is that this is considered an identity preserved program. So keeping good records on where you are planting what is important. You know, we have some guys in the program that are planting 2, 3 varieties. We have other guys in the program that are planting one big field of one variety. But making sure that your planter's cleaned out ahead of planting, and then making sure that, you know, there's not that you're keeping your seed tender, everything from the box of beans to your planter is kept clean so that it can be tracked. One reason why we are able to get a little bit more of a premium out of South Korea than some other different Asian markets is because of the identity preservation. It is special to Koreans for them to know exactly where these beans are being grown. And I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but these beans will be processed into tofu. So the way they make tofu is they take the beans, they soak them in water, the beans swell up, then they run them through some type of a blending system where they basically turn it into a wet mash. They take that wet mash, run it through a screen or a sieve and press it, and then they get out soy milk as their first and primary product. It's not the primary, it's the secondary product value-wise, but it's the first thing that comes off the bean. They take that dry mash then and add a coagulant to it, which I don't know exactly. There's different types of coagulants, but basically there's 3 ingredients in tofu, and that is soybeans, water, and a coagulant. So they add that coagulant to it. They put it in some type of a press that basically makes it look like a pan of brownies or whatever, right? So when you buy tofu at the store, you get these little cubes, or you get a pan that you cut into cubes or whatever. So that gives you a little bit of a picture of what, once we send these things out, they're going to go into a shipping container. They're going to go to a rail yard. From the rail yard, they'll be shipped either to the east or the west coast, and then they'll be put on an ocean liner and sent to South Korea, where then they'll be processed. As far as that part's concerned, we will clean them here. So when we talk about our processing, we're talking about the conditioning of the soybeans here, so that we're sending them whole, clean soybeans. Okay, so you will be planting soybeans. You know that you're farming non-GMO, so don't spray them with Roundup, obviously. And then we will be doing field inspections in the summer. In fact, our Korean buyers are going to come in the summertime, and we're going to take them on a tour. They want to see pictures of these soybeans grown. Again, that all goes back to, it's a big deal for them. They want to know where their food is coming from. And so, most of us have pretty close relationships. We know your farms are, but we'll be reaching out and wanting to know, hey, can we come look at the beans? Grant's also going to be doing field inspections. I think probably one of the most important messages that I want you to hear this morning is that any beans that we can't take and make product out of to send, we don't get paid on. Okay? So everybody's in the same game here, and that is everybody wants to produce high quality soybeans that we can export. So we're not interested in rejecting loads. We're interested in helping you grow high quality stuff that's really good. So we're going to inspect the fields at least twice during the growing season is our plan, to check for weeds. Specifically, not all weeds are a problem, but specifically nightshade and pokeberry are probably 2 of the most toxic, from the standpoint that we are only allowed to send them 0.2% soybeans of other color. We can take more than that, but we have to poke them out with a color sorter. So one thing you guys can think about when you're running your combine, I'm not a combine expert, okay, so some of this is a little bit speculative, but when you're running your combine and you run a big old massive plant through the machine, you can take the same amount of volume in through the machine regardless of how much grain is there, correct? Right, as far as how much the machine can handle. So if you tried to harvest corn with a grain head, for example, you can only take so much fodder in. You're going to get corn, but you've got to take all that fodder through the machine and throw it out back. This seed cleaner is similar to that regard. So we can run the same amount of soybeans across the top of the seed cleaner regardless of how much trash is in it. But the amount that comes out the back is directly proportional to the percentage of trash that we put inside, okay? So let's just use, like, this machine should be able to process 200 to 300 bushels an hour, okay? So let's use 300 bushels, for example. If we bring something in that's 10% not soybeans, we can still run 300 bushels an hour across the top. We're going to spit out 270 bushels an hour out the side, okay? If we bring in something that's 50% soybeans, we're going to send out 150 bushels there, and the other 150 bushels go back. So in that case, you still had to handle it, we still had to handle it all the way till it got to this machine, and then we shove it out back, and then we have to handle it again to get rid of it, okay? So I just wanted, part of the reason we're doing this in here, a lot of the reason that we're doing this in here is so that you understand how the process works, because it makes a little bit, I know for me, when I do something, if I get to go kind of see what happens with it, it puts a little bit of more of my heart and soul into how I protect it and take care of it coming up to that point. Anything to add there, Grant?
One thing that we will be, that at contracting, you may not know yet, but we'll follow up over the summer, is your bin plan.
Yeah.
Knowing, the the different varieties, they have to be segregated. So if you are growing 2 varieties, they'll have to be in different grain bins. You may not have that information just yet, but as we get closer to harvest, we'll be asking for that as well.
Yeah, it's important. The contract has on it field history, so, was it corn last year? Was it soybeans last year? That kind of thing. Again, all of this goes back to how are the beans grown? How are they taken care of until they get put into a shipping container and sent off to the end user? Okay, so he'll do some field inspections. Our goal is to do one when beans are green, and we can double check and make sure that varieties look like they match up, right? We'll have specific characteristics for each variety. We'll know if they're tall or short or bushy or thin, or do they have a white flower or a purple flower, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, at that point, we're looking for, are there any significant weed issues that we need to make you aware of that you may or may not be aware of, right? You may totally know about it, or you may say, oh man, I haven't been over there for a week and I just didn't realize something had happened, okay? So that'll be the goal during that pass. And the second pass will be after the plant senesces. So, in essence, when it's brown or tawny or gray. And that pass specifically, we're going to look for pokeberries, right? If you have pokeberries at that point, it's going to be hard for those beans to not get stained. So we'll work with you. We've got some resources to figure out how to rectify that if it is an issue. But then specifically, what we're going to be looking for also is off types. So we'll be able to tell at that point if we walk into a field and we see here's some tan beans and here's some gray beans, and we pull the pods open and hey, this field's supposed to be planted to Pioneer 26 A10s or whatever, and we're looking here and that's supposed to be a tan hilum, and what we're looking at is actually a black hilum, right? We have sent each one of these varieties over to South Korea to be tested for the making of tofu, and so they know the characteristics of what they're getting. So part of the way that this works is they're a broker for this, okay? So they go to a tofu producer and they say, hey, this farmer in Fountain County, Indiana is going to plant this many acres, and so we can expect approximately this much production off of that many acres of this specific variety. So then that tofu manufacturer knows that they're going to bring that variety in this quantity and to use this recipe, right? When we talked about the coagulant and how they do all that, I don't know the details, but I know that not every soybean's the same. Otherwise, they would say just send us beans. But they have tofu yield and how well they coagulate by every single variety. So again, our goal is to be their best supplier, right? And our goal for you is for you to be the best producer that you can possibly be, so that you're making high quality product, we're sending high quality product, they're producing high quality product, and we develop a reputation that we can then actually demand more of a premium instead of less of a premium, right? The higher quality product that we can process, that you can grow, the higher premium long term we should be able to obtain. Remember, we're all in this together, right? You bring good beans, we process good beans, that's efficient for you, that's efficient for us. You get paid the maximum amount of premium, and we get to ship them products that's a premium. So if it's not a premium, we bring it in. Whatever's not a premium product, we send out the back, and then we take to the elevator and sell as normal beans. So
I'd like to reiterate that we view this as a partnership. Through the field inspections, through the testing of the grain before we bring it in, I'm available anytime. I'll be your point of contact. So don't hesitate if we're in between field inspections and you have a question, or sometime early harvest you have a question. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Going along with what he said, we view this as a partnership, and we want to make sure that everybody wins in this situation. So.
Yep. And my personal cell phone number is on this sheet, as well as AIO's not cell phone, but their direct line. Grant's personal cell phone number is on here. We want to help you be successful, and we want to all win together. Okay, so if you turn, one thing that we talked about the field inspections. Grant will also be doing a bin inspection as well. So I'm going to give you a little Seed Cleaner 101 here. The way that this machine works, it has 4 screens in it, okay? And those screens are split up into 2 types of screens, which are scalp and sift, okay? The scalp screen, anything that falls through the screen is good. Anything that comes off the top is trash, okay? So like when we start running beans through here, we've got pods and, let's see if there's any, no, there's nothing in there right now, but pods, stems, you know, big stuff like that will come across. We're using, like on this lot of soybeans, we're using a 19 round, which is 19/64 of an inch, and it's a round hole, okay? Grant, could you grab a couple screens over there? And then the second screen, so it goes across the scalp screen, 99% of the stuff falls through, okay? And then it falls onto what's called a sift screen. A sift screen is exactly the opposite. The good material stays on top, okay? And the bad material falls through. So it has, you see this little, on this side here, this little tray, and on this side here, there's a tray, and you'll see splits, weed seeds, stuff that will fall through the sift screen coming out the side, okay? So scalp sift, then it comes, and you can tell the top tables are tilted down towards us, okay? Then the next set of tables are tilted towards the back of the machine, and it does the same thing again. Then we're running, like I told you 19, I think this is actually a 19.5 or 20 or something on the top, and then the second one is a 19. So we run something slightly smaller for the second scalp screen. That way, anything that didn't get scalped on the first pass gets another chance to get scalped on the second pass. Again, the cleaner your beans are, the more really big beans we can keep, because inevitably you will get, we're gonna tighten that scalp screen up so that we're not shoving sticks out the side, right? So we've seen several different lots of beans come in so far. I'm sure that our eyes are going to be open to a lot of different ones this fall based on the growing season that we have, and you know, each variety will be different. But if you need a resource on how to set your combine up specifically for this, we are working on getting something put together for that aspect, but you guys are the farmers, you're pros, you know how to set combines up. We're just here to help if you need a resource. Okay, so scalp sift, and then the last 4th screen is another sift screen that's slightly bigger than the top, or they're the same. We can run them either direction. But basically what Grant's going to do is he's going to come out and take a sample out of your bin with a probe, and then he's going to do a moisture test on those, make sure that they're good. If they're not good, right, our cutoff is 14%. If they're not below 14%, then you guys have the opportunity to figure out how to get them dried down a little bit. There's no discount applied if they're below 13%. So if they're below 13%, we're giving you a thumbs up. We're also looking at the size of those beans, because the size of those beans determine how we set our screens, okay? So bigger beans will have bigger splits, we'll have bigger trash. Well, the trash maybe not bigger, but definitely the splits and the ability to get the poor stuff out of those beans, it'll take larger screens. So he'll have a set of hand screens, he'll pull out a sample, he'll take moisture test weight, and then he'll do a scalp, and we'll determine what size those soybeans are. He'll bring that sample back here. We'll keep a copy of the sample. We'll also be able to run them through a seed sizer that'll tell us, okay, these are 2,800 seeds per pound, these are 2,200 seeds per pound, etc. Okay? And then we'll do same thing with the sift. So this is an example of a scalp, okay? So anything that goes through there is good, anything that stays on top is bad. This is an example of a sift. So anything that goes through there is bad, anything that sits on top of there is good, okay? If you have a small lot of beans, this is the minimum size of a soybean that they will accept, okay? That's pretty small. That's 12 1/64 of an inch. There are very few soybeans. You will have to have teeny, teeny, tiny beans for them not to fit through here, okay? But we will run an 10/64, 11/64, or 12/64 screen for scalp screen, or sorry, sift screen for to pull out splits, okay? All right, what am I missing, Grant? As far as the process goes.
That's about it.
Okay. One other thing that we haven't talked about, you're going to see 3 pieces of equipment here. So this is a cleaner we talked about. This is also pulling air off of these beans. So as they're falling and as the accepts are falling onto the conveyor at the bottom and as the beans are falling onto the cleaner at the top, we're running a ton of air across them. And that's pulling out really, really lightweight stuff too. So we can actually pull out some of the husks and that kind of thing from the cleaner. This is a gravity table. We hope we don't have to use it much, okay? That really only comes into effect when we have really lightweight beans, okay? So we hope we don't have to use that much. So far, what we've cleaned this year, nothing would have to have the gravity table in order to be made saleable product. The final piece over there is a color sorter. That's going to take out black beans, moldy beans, and soybeans of other colors. So if you did get some stained, it will take it out. Remember what I said? The input coming in the top is the same. The output going out the bottom is directly proportional to the material, to the quality of the material. So the more that we have to poke out, the longer it's going to take to get 200 bushels out the bottom. Okay? Okay, here's the quality specs. In your contract will be stated what the incoming quality specifications can be, and then we also put in there what the outgoing quality specs are. So the outgoing quality specs means when we put it in a tote bag or we direct load it into a container, exactly what we have to provide to our buyer in order to meet specs. Okay, so like for example, the target specs for you guys coming in would be 56-pound test weight, 13% moisture, 1% FM, 2% damage, 7% splits, 1% soybeans of other color, okay? Every time that you run, you guys know augers, every time you run something through an auger, you create splits, right? So our plan out here, if you look down here, our plan is everything will run either across a belt conveyor or a bucket elevator. We will not auger one single bean. So we can control everything from coming into the plant, going out of the plant. We cannot control what you guys do in your own grain facilities, okay? But since your premium is based on the outgoing bushels, the better you take care of the grain, the more premium you're going to get, okay? And that's better for us too, right? You bring in 98% beans, 2% splits, we're like big thumbs up, okay? And then subject to discounts is the middle column, and then subject to rejection is the last column. We don't want to reject anything. Okay, I just want to say that again loud and clear, as our goal is to not reject one load. Okay, but we do know that if we start sending product out that's not quality, at some point they're going to say, hey, we don't want any more of your beans. And we don't want that. We want them saying, hey, Pence Group sends us the best beans. Bring it on, guys. We can pay you more. Okay? All right, special attention. We talked about nightshade, and we talked about the purple stain. All right. Really quickly here on how we will bring beans in. We will have a leg set up here, a 100-foot leg. We're going to have 2 10,000 bushel cone-shaped bins. We're going to have 3 bins that are smaller, 2,500 bushel bins. We're going to bring all your beans off with a high-speed conveyor. Okay, we're going to load into surge tank. You guys can think of it like a wet holding bin. That'll have a 3,000 bushel capacity, and then our leg back here, the key to handling beans with the least amount of damage is to move them slowly, okay, if you're working with a bucket elevator. So our bucket elevator is going to be big in size, but it's only going to handle about 1,500 bushel an hour because we're going to turn it really slowly so that we're not splitting beans, okay? So we'll bring beans in. We'll be able to unload a truck. Our goal is to have your truck unloaded in 15 minutes, okay? So by the time you come in, we test your beans, make sure everything's good. We'll do a non-GMO purity test on them, double check they look like what they're supposed to, if they're tan, high, bean, et cetera, and then we'll get you unloaded ASAP. Okay? All right. Any questions on the handling or anything like that? Yes. Well, we do have fall delivery available, but remember that we can only hold 30,000 bushels, right? And so, and we're going to process approximately 2,000 bushels a day. This machine's going to be 250 bushels an hour. So we do have fall delivery available, but not everybody can bring in fall delivery. So you can see that the premiums are adjusted based on whether you're storing the beans or whether you're bringing them here in the fall. And we'll only have so much capacity to bring, each amount each month. Okay, hedging and pricing. Jordan, you want to give us 2 minutes on what that looks like and how the grower, what that communication looks like with you? Okay. I know I'm out of time, so we're going to try to wrap it up. Think of your questions quick.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay? I can honestly say in almost 40 years of life, this is the tallest I've ever felt. So thanks for the platform, Paul.
Oh, here.
Well, I was trying to feel extra tall. So with regards to the hedging and pricing, we're working directly with the Andersons, which everybody in here, if you're from Indiana or the surrounding area, you know Andersons. They're going to be the grain dealer carrying these contracts. We're working directly with the executive team and the staff out of Maumee, as well as some of the local facilities here in Indiana. And basically, when you enroll in this program with Paul, what we've negotiated and worked out is you will get one opportunity per bushel to market your grain, make a sale for free. Okay, it's included with the premium and the package that Paul's put together. And so if you want to do anything outside of just making a general HTA or a cash sale, it'll be subject to the pricing tools offered by the Andersons. And so they have a slew of different marketing tools that are available to you. And I think what's best is just go over those on a case-by-case basis with each grower when they're interested in it, and all of the fees associated with that particular pricing tool will be disclosed at the time. But if you're just looking to make an HTA or a general cash sale ahead of time, you'll be able to do that for free. Does anybody have any questions on that?
One real quick. You say an HTA or a cash sale. How do you set the basis for this location?
So Paul has been kind enough to basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anything's changed, but give you guys a zero basis, an option basis. So the basis will just be attached to it at that time. I'm using HTA or cash sale. A cash sale generally has basis attached to it, right? But it's an option basis on the non-GMO program.
So cash sale and HTA would be the same thing for here.
Correct. Yep.
You can roll your HTA for a fee then,
Yes. Yep.
and you know that fee,
With the Andersons, I believe it's 2 cents.
2 cents, okay, per roll.
Correct.
And you'll generally price it, you'll price it on the nearest contract month to your delivery. So if you're signed up for December delivery, you'll use a January futures to price that. Correct, Jordan?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's going to be some sophisticated growers in this room that want to get more exotic and try to carry or play the carry market if they can and do things of that nature. we'll go over those options with you, but generally what would be best is if you're contracted for delivery in, April, May, you use the May futures. If you're contracted for delivery in December, January, use December futures, and use the respective futures reference month for your delivery period. But for those that want to get more intricate and exotic, that's why we're involved, and that's why we're working with the Andersons to be able to offer that to you if you want it.
Okay, any other questions?
So you ran crops through here this last fall as far as processing and stuff?
We've processed for seed, which is it's actually a little bit more rigorous than processing for the export. So, yeah. All righty.
Oh, we got a
Oh,
question
okay.
in the back.
So why do the Koreans want to pay more money? Is it the quality of the product tastes better, it has better texture? They want to know where it comes from, so they're willing to pay for some of that. But why are they paying more money?
So I'm not sure. Right now, they're growing the majority of their soybeans way north. So it may be and by way north, I mean like Ontario style, okay? It's Saskatchewan. So they're growing way different maturity soybeans than what we're growing here. So that I can't answer exactly what the difference is. I just know that they were specifically targeting Midwestern grown soybeans.
Paul, I'll add one more thing about the pricing. I would just, for the growers that aren't enrolling in this program, I would ask that definitely call our team in order to facilitate this, because we're working directly with Grant and we're working directly with the Andersons pricing desks, and we just want to keep everybody on the same page because it is a special program. So don't just call an Anderson's facility down the street and be like, oh, I'm going to price my beans in Paul's program. They may not know what you're talking about, right? So definitely the lines of communication need to be with Grant, our team, and then we'll work with the Andersons and make sure you guys get settled up correctly, all right? If you have a Andersons account, or if you've worked with them already, the nice thing is when these beans come in and they get delivered, we're using the same scale software. So you'll be able to see all the loads come in directly on your user profile with the Andersons website. So you'll be able to see all the scale tickets, what was actually delivered, all of the pricing associated with it, right within their portal.